You know, I've had a very great life, and I don't think I've missed a thing, you know. I have 4 wonderful sons, and they're all successful, and what more could a man want? My parents originally both lived in Boston, you know, and that was back during the Big Depression in the 30s. And my father, of course, there wasn't any work around, and my father only went to the 7th grade because he had to help his parents. You know, he had to go to work and help them out financially. So he got a job at Nantasket Beach setting up pins in a bowling alley. That was the best job he could get at the time. So my mother and father packed me up, and off they went to Nantasket and got an apartment there. And we lived there, till 1949. And they were walking around Straits Point, which is part of Jerusalem Road, one day, just out for a walk. You know, that's something that people did for entertainment because there wasn't any money to do anything else. And they saw this for sale sign on a house. And they said, well, gee, you know, it would look like a big house, and maybe they couldn't afford it. But they took down the number and called it, and the broker said, well, I can meet you next Saturday, and I'll show you the place. And my mother said, well, how much is the house? He said, well, don't worry, but we'll look at the house first, and then we'll talk about the price later. So they went in the house, and it was 5 bedrooms, a big living room and dining room and kitchen, and a breakfast nook and a garage underneath. And my parents said, oh my gosh, we probably can't afford this place. But the broker said, I'll sell it to you for $6,000. And my parents said, well, that's a lot of money, $6,000 back then. But they managed to scrape up a down payment, and they bought it. But come to find out, it was just a summer home. And the first winter we lived there, we down near froze to death because there was no insulation, no storm windows, no central heating system. But my father was a very clever guy, and he managed to put a foundation in and a heating system, and things got better as we went along. And he became a carpenter, so his livelihood improved financially. And of course, I was growing up. I started school here, in this building, in the 5th grade. This was called the Ripley Road School, and it was just a grade school. And I went to this school for the 5th and 6th grades, and then we moved to for the 7th and 8th. We went down to Elm Street, where the police station is, and that was called the Osgood School. And I went there for 2 years, and then high school came along, and I think, as I told you, my parents decided that maybe I wasn't applying myself quite as much as I should and paying attention to my studies. So they sent me to Archbishop Williams High School in Braintree. And of course, it was a big exam to get in there. That was a big thing to get to Archbishop Williams. And I passed the exam, and I went there. And I wasn't exactly a great student. And nobody could figure out why. They said, the nuns there told me that I was just a lazy child because I had a very high IQ. But years later, when my youngest son was coming along, went to school here again, and they were just pushing him along through the grade school, saying, well, he's just a little slow, and we'll give him a little extra help. But we took him into Boston to, I've forgotten what the name of the place was, but anyway, it tested children for learning disabilities. And after a week of testing, the results came back, and they said he was dyslexic. Well, listening to the doctor explain what it was all about, it brought back memories, because that's exactly the problems that I had. I could learn out of a textbook, but if you orally, I was sitting in a classroom listening to the teacher, I managed to garner enough information on a subject to get by. You know, I'd pass the weekly tests and so forth. And that's how I managed to get through school. But of course, by the end of high school, I was so frustrated because my parents wanted me to go to college. You have to go to college. You lived in Cohasset, you had to go to college. And I said, where am I going to go?